It's okay to sit. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a beautiful day in Kansas City. As those of you who live here know, it's like this every day year-round in Kansas City. My name is Herb Kahn. I'm here to speak instead of our chair, Frank Urias, who decided he needed to drop by his daughter's wedding today for some reason. But we want to extend a especially warm welcome to our graduating seniors and their families and friends. And speaking of the families, I think the graduates would want to show their appreciation to the parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who has had anything to do with supporting them during these 4 years. Graduates, let's hear it. Parents, grandparents, etc., I hope you heard that. So, to the graduates, please know that all of us associated with the Kansas City Art Institute take great pride in your accomplishments. We know that this day marks a very important milestone for you. From the moment you submitted your high school portfolio to the Kansas City Art Institute, we recognized your gifts as talented young artists and designers. Once you came to the campus, your professors worked tirelessly to prepare you for a lifetime of creative endeavor. In return, we admire and appreciate how you have given your best in pursuit of your BFA degree. As you embark on the next stage of your life, and we don't know whether that'll be to graduate school or the start of your chosen career, we challenge you to continue to exceed your own expectations and never settle for less than your best efforts. In addition to your diploma, you take with you today the full support of the Kansas City Art Institute community, including the heartfelt good wishes of the college's administration and staff, the board of trustees, and especially the faculty. The faculty who have traveled the last 4 years with you as your teachers, your mentors, your advocates, your most ardent fans. I would like to take this opportunity again to have all graduates join me in recognizing your dedicated faculty. So as you leave here after today, remember to keep in touch with us. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know what you are doing. We are proud to welcome you to the distinguished ranks of alumni of the Kansas City Art Institute. Your ongoing involvement will be a way of ensuring that other talented young people will be able to come to KCAI to follow in your formidable footsteps. On behalf of everyone at KCAI, I salute you for 4 wonderful years of creativity and accomplishment, and I wish you every success. Now, some news for you. If you've been on campus recently, you're aware of the tremendous building program taking place. With the completion of the Beals Building, the new residence hall, and the new art history building, the school's facilities have never looked better. But as an operating entity, KCAI is a tuition-driven institution. And this means we must continue to attract incoming students as qualified as you are in a graduating class. So while several art colleges around the country are struggling, in fact, as you may know, some are closing, we are delighted to report that KCAI is flourishing. We can report that under the guidance of our excellent administration, as of yesterday, we have received 233 new student deposits for next year, over 210 of which are in foundation. We will have more new students on campus next year than any year since 2012. So to put this into context, it's always easy for me to understand. We are replacing a graduating class of 130 with an incoming class of well over 200. Now that's good news. One more thing we're doing today, we're honoring the retirement of an outstanding member of the Board of Trustees. George Turlovich has served KCAI since 2010, and in fact is the honorary chair of this year's Art and Design auction back on June 1. Many of you may have participated in George's annual pumpkin decorating contest on 55th Street. George, we thank you for your service. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our faculty speaker, Jim Woodfill, KCAI professor in painting. Jim.
Thank you, and good morning. And thank you to the faculty assembly. I'm honored that you've asked me to speak this morning. My comments today have come into focus over the last few weeks as I have had long conversations with many of you in this graduating class. There's been a lot of talk about the paths that you are now going to embark on. Over the last 4 years, the faculty here has been speaking to you as students, as you have been instructed and challenged to build your own voice of creative invention. And now, as formerly one of you, a graduating student at KCAI, and as an artist who has worked out in the world for quite some time, I want to welcome you this morning as I talk about us. Artists, designers, writers. We operate on all fronts, a multidisciplinary and multi-generational force that can reshape an understanding of what it means to be a citizen and a participating human being as we work to reorient ourselves with our planet. We have a highly developed agency to act on what we observe of the world through our work by translating and reframing these observations in every sort of way possible. Within the current cultural and political climate, it is really important for us to take stock of our capacities as artists. This is really a very challenging moment for us in our models of civilization. As we look for our place in this moment, it might be correct to describe ourselves as creative problem solvers. But I think a bit more accurately, and really more importantly, creative observers, understanders, problem framers, maybe creative analogy makers. Our most effective efforts are not always in discrete resolutions or definitive answers, but often in the ability to ask new questions, or even new kinds of questions. We have a strong capacity for thoughtfulness, an ethos of compassion. This comes in large part, I think, from a practice that includes critique through the empathy and extreme generosity of our peers as we have all worked to understand the excruciating subtlety of our compositions. Through this long conversation, we have developed an unusual capacity for nuance. This trait serves us well as we work to build broader relationships and concoct new possibilities. We are good at straddling opposing forces. There is a sense that we are continually hovering, suspended between inevitable outcomes in a persistent state of kinetic animation. Like riding a bike, suspending ourselves between the two possible outcomes of falling over to the left or falling over to the right. And in doing so, we are propelled It is this idea of engaging in a continual state of adjustment, as opposed to a concrete script of procedures, that led the Wright brothers coax an airplane into the sky when others couldn't. While their contemporaries were trying to force the achievement of flight, the Wright brothers were engaged in levitation. They were surfing on air. In our realm, this condition of perpetual adaptation keeps our perception sharp, our observations broad, and from this perch, we can see subtle relationships that others cannot. However, this state of creative suspension leaves us vulnerable, untethered to known conclusions. With undefined boundaries inherent in carving out new ideas, self-doubt is often rampant. We all know it. We've all felt this. As arbiters of our own sets of rules, our success is often very hard to pinpoint and define for ourselves. And if we're having difficulty with this, it's only reasonable to assume that the rest of the world is also unclear on exactly what our role should be. Our patrons and our clients often look for and find new ideas and strategies for their projects from us, but there is no one clear formula on how this conjuring process might work, despite great attempts to describe it and prescribe it. We know at the heart of the matter, carving out new territory requires getting lost. What feels like self-doubt is actually a necessary state as we detach ourselves from known solutions in order to find new connections and new routes to take. And if we diligently take this risk, amazing outcomes emerge. So, we ask those who seek us out, who want to engage us in our work, take this risk with us. Do not instrumentalize us, make us instrumental. Don't leverage what we do to reinforce what you already know, but take a leap of faith and help empower us to leverage the yet unfound possibilities that we uniquely can find in the muck or in the dark corners where no one else is looking. Artists, designers, writers, we need to move to the front of the conversations and stay planted there. Our work is important. In a world full of bias, driven by formulas and surveys, it is our charge to perpetually examine and invent, to regenerate and embrace the states of ambiguity from where new concepts and new futures emerge. I'm excited about your commitment to enter this dialogue, to be part of this great community of creative force. So finally, let me say from out here, in the world where this good work is always underway, to you, the graduates of the Kansas City Art Institute, welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bambi Regard, and I serve as the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs. It's now my pleasure to introduce our student speaker, Reagan Kepsel. Reagan is a double major in ceramics and art history. Reagan.
I had a philosophy teacher, Rebecca Watson, say to me once that art students sometimes have trouble writing a coherent paper. Because we don't always think chronologically. We think in webs where we make these obscure connections that take us on more divergent routes. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Vulnerability is what makes us different. Researcher and storyteller Brene Brown states, I know that vulnerability is the root of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness. But it is also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, and of love. KCAI facilitates an environment of vulnerability and risk-taking. When talking to other classmates about their experience here, I often hear it is the most difficult thing we've ever done, but it is also the most rewarding. We've all made some bad work, but we still have the courage to make it. We have also made some of our best work, because being vulnerable is uncomfortable, it is necessary. When discussing college plans with my high school painting teacher, Linda Boga, she asked me a very important question. Do you want to go somewhere where you can be the most talented person in the room, or do you want to be surrounded by people who are more talented than you are, and they're going to push you? She explained that a local state school would feel like another 4 years of high school. Similar student demographic, larger classes, general education, whereas KCAI had very small class sizes, providing an amazing fine and liberal arts education, and the student body would widen my scope of exposure. My first day at KCAI started off in foundations with my professor, Steve Whitaker. Our first assignment was to make scans of our entire body and construct a collage on the studio walls. This led to about a dozen art students being kicked out of your local Office Depot, FedEx, and libraries for smashing their face and other body parts up against the copiers. Whitaker explained that the reason for this exercise was to illustrate that we would always have to work around extraneous circumstances to create our art. We had to work around store hours, people's schedules, and maybe laws. Being educated in an institution that asks us to question it shows the power of individual thought and the tolerance of opposition. I studied how Islamic spirituality relates to Makarnas and Iranian architecture, how in some cultures, placing a broken bowl on the head of their dead allows them to reach the aperture of the afterlife. I've had seminars with readings that relate Chamberlain's abstract metal sculptures to the metamorphic nature of gender, how Victorian corsetry was used as a form of birth control. I wrote a 16-page paper on the South African music group Danford from a neo-Marxist post-colonial perspective. Our education creates an open forum for criticism rooted in evidence-based individual thought. You start to realize how this research intersects your studio practice. Reading half-price books, photographing, writing, processing your thoughts over and over until you advance further. You realize that creating art is not just an experience, but it's an investigation. There is no universal curriculum for your studio practice, but you are surrounded by walking, breathing encyclopedias that exist in professors like Michelle Fricke, Rebecca Dubé, Phyllis Moore, Carrie Esper, and so many more. It also exists in your peers, your mentors, your friends, and your family. It is such a rewarding feeling to pour yourself into your work, but also be surrounded by other students and faculty who are doing the same thing and still taking time to support you along the way. Being vulnerable is also the willingness to invest in something with no guarantees. The effort to give your time for something that does not ensure compensation for your investment. Vulnerability is truly our strength, and today is not the end of our investigation. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And I think some of you may have noticed that some of our regalia worn by myself and by members of the faculty have a little something extra. In fact, if you can see. Each year, at the commencement ceremony, the president of the institution and our senior faculty wear something rather special. These sashes, in this case a stole, have been created over the years by students in our legendary program, the fiber department. Each year, a fiber student is asked to create a sash for this ceremony. I would like you to recognize the student who created this wonderful sash, graduating senior Ariana Bad. Ladies and gentlemen, at the Kansas City Art Institute, we have two absolutely extraordinary assets that support our teaching program, and neither one of them is in the college. One of them is on Oak Street, the Nelson Atkins Museum, an encyclopedic museum, which we use every day, and where art history comes to life, not in some lecture theatre with slides, but by looking at real objects made by men and women of the past. We study them all day long. The second great asset sits across the street on Warwick Avenue, the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art. We use this constantly to be able to see how contemporary artists, designers, craftspersons, technologists, people working in media, how do they make work in the modern world? Constantly changing exhibitions in this Kunsthalle have allowed us to be able to look at the process of contemporary production. It's the 25th anniversary year of the founding of the Kemper Museum by Mr. Crosby Kemper, who had been a member of the Board of Governors of Kansas City Art Institute. In its anniversary year, its 25th year, it has appointed a new executive director who has just arrived. So we thought it was absolutely perfect moment for us to invite Dr. Sean, who is the new director, who arrived just in February, to be our commencement speaker. We have already developed a great friendship with Julian Zubazagoitia, the director of the Nelson Atkins. We are looking anew at what Rock Hill can mean as an experience for our students, experience for resident visitors, experience for people who are coming to see the museums, an opportunity for us to rethink how we want that cultural asset to do something for our community at the college, our community on Rock Hill, on South Moreland, in the city, and for the hundreds of thousands of visitors who come to Rock Hill. I couldn't be happier than to present to you today our commencement speaker, the new executive director of our sister institution, the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art, Dr. Sean O'Mara.
Tony is one of the best presidents you could ever have.
Greetings, one and all. I am honored and humbled to be here today as your commencement speaker for the Kansas City Art Institute, the greatest art college in the United States of America. Many thanks to President Tony Jones, Board Chair Frank Urias, members of the boards of trustees, for their invitation to speak on such a momentous occasion. Thank you to faculty, staff, students, family, and community supporters, artists, John Buck, Deborah Butterfield, and others who have made this remarkable day possible. A hearty congratulations to the graduating class of 2019 of the Kansas City Art Institute. You did it. Getting your BFA degrees means you are now officially artists. And in some countries, you are now officially dangerous. Please allow me to explain. Back in 1991, when I was a PhD student in the UK, I found that I needed to buy car insurance. So I spoke with an insurance agent, and he said that under no circumstances was I to list down artists as an occupation. Otherwise, I would be uninsurable. However, if I listed accountant, I would get the best rate. responded, "What's wrong with being an artist?" The insurance agent replied, "Artists are just too risky." Risky? Let me think about this. Artists take too many risks. Too many risks. Cool. Of course they do. As a student in the 1980s, I loved moody, dark, emotional novels from artists and writers such as 19th century novelist Marcel Proust. And Proust famously once said, "To be an artist is to fail, as no other dare to fail. Failure is the artist's world, and to shrink from it, desertion." Around that time, I took a financial management course. I had a finance degree, I had to get some other useful skills. This was a concept I learned in the course, and it was called risk-reward. This is a calculation one makes to determine how much can be made investing money given a certain risk profile. The more you risk, the more you make. More risk, more reward. I realized that this concept also exists in the art world. As John Cassavetes, the famous American actor, film director, and screenwriter once stated, "To be an artist, I feel that I must try many things, but above all, we must dare to fail. You must have the courage to be willing to risk everything to really express it all." So here's my first piece of advice. And commencement speakers have to do this. I call it artist maxim number 1. To achieve greatness, dare to fail. Here's my next story. Jackson Pollock was a terrible art student. His teacher, the great Kansas City artist, KCAI associate, Thomas Hart Benton, once described Pollock as out of his field. His mind was absolutely incapable of drafting logical sequences. He couldn't be taught anything. As Pollock later wrote his brother, "My drawing, I will tell you frankly, is rotten. It seems to lack freedom, the rhythm, it is cold and lifeless. It isn't worth the postage to send it. Although I feel like I will make an artist of some kind, I've never proven to myself or anyone else that I have it in me." Even though he couldn't paint the way his teacher wanted him to, Pollock was so determined to become a great artist that he actually invented a new artistic language, often referred to as drip painting, or more formally as abstract expressionism. He utterly revolutionized the art world. Upon Pollock's first commission, the artist Clement Greenberg viewed it and proclaimed Pollock as the greatest painter this country has produced. This leads me to artist maxim number 2. To achieve greatness, never give up. Another artist who knew Jackson Pollock was John Cage. Cage was a painter, a sculptor, a performance artist, and most famously a composer of music and sound. His artistic journey was not too dissimilar from Pollock's. Cage studied with the great Austrian composer Arnold Schoenberg. And as Cage described himself in his own words, "I gave up painting and concentrated on music. After 2 years, it became clear to both of us that I had no feeling for harmony." For Schoenberg, harmony was not just coloristic, it was structural. It was a means one used to distinguish one part of a composition from another. Therefore, he said, "I would never be able to write music." Soon after, John Cage proceeded to invent new approaches to music, new sound languages, developing a new art of noise. John Cage became the notorious bad boy of modern music because he violated all the rules. He questioned all conventions. He created sounds never experienced before. He is considered a super significant modern composer of music because he literally blew apart the concept and definition of music. He performed on toasters, on blenders, on transistor radios, and even on a bathtub. His most famous piece is 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. John Cage famously stated, "My composition arises out of asking questions." So this leads me to artist maxim number 3. To achieve greatness, always question. Finally, we have here on stage 2 of the greatest living artists in this country, John Buck and Deborah Butterfield. Not only did they succeed because they dared to fail, they never gave up, they questioned convention, but they are 2 of the nicest, most generous, and most helpful artists you will ever meet. This leads me to the final rule and the longest truth, maxim number 4. To achieve greatness, be kind and generous. Give others credit, be honest, show gratitude, and thank and compliment people often. In other words, be a nice person. Which I know you all are. In fact, I know you possess all of these qualities of artistic greatness, listed in the 4 maxims. Why do I know this? Because this week, you officially completed your BFA requirements, thereby graduating from the greatest art college in the United States of America. That's low-key Midwestern response at this point. But please allow me to end with one final famous statement that I'm sure you all have heard before, but one that I told the auto insurance agent who disparaged our subject. I said, "History judges civilizations by their artists, not by their accountants." So go forth, make history, and don't worry about car insurance. Your generation doesn't drive anyway.
Our next speaker is going to introduce our 2 honorees. I can't tell you how proud I am to be on this platform with these 3 people. Deborah Butterfield and John Buck are extraordinary artists. John himself, as you know, is a graduate of the college in 1968 sculpture. Deborah's work is absolutely in many collections here in Kansas City. So we thought it'd be a wonderful thing to have this lady introduce them. And I had a long speech about her, governor of the school, with her husband, Lewis, created one of the greatest contemporary collections in our country today, focused on young artists, i.e. you. A wonderful collection put together with great care and great thought. So there were lots of things that I could say about it, but I decided to say something simple. Red hair and a spirit to go with it.
Good morning. Congratulations, graduates. At graduation ceremonies across the country, someone like me would stand up and, politely read the bios of the honorees and introduce them, and this would be perfectly expected and ordinary. But this is the Kansas City Art Institute. We don't do expected or ordinary, do we? We have artists, art lovers, collectors, professionals, professors, and I would not dream of standing here introducing 2 famous artists, one of whom is a graduate of this great institution, by reading their bios, which you've already seen in your program. To talk about an artist, one must go beyond the bio. You've got to look at their work. You got to talk to the people who collect them. You got to talk to their dealers. And then you got to look some more. So that's what I decided to do, and here's what I found. Our honorees have works in every museum in this area. The Spencer, the Nerman, the Nelson, the Kemper, and the Albright Kemper. They are in public collections, 2 pieces at the Kansas City Zoo by Deborah Butterfield, and 6 pieces at Hallmark Cards, and in many private collections throughout the city. One collector who has a beautiful Deborah Butterfield horse in her home told me this story. Some Kansas ranchers came into the house and declared, "Oh, it's a horse." Just a bunch of old sticks piled together. Wonder if I can't do that. No, we all know. Can they do that? She goes on to say, our Deborah Butterfield is the ultimate piece of art. Something that seems so easy becomes strong, expressive, graceful, stunning, powerful elegance. Her dealer, William Lieberman, told me a story of how he fondly remembers hand-carrying a mud and stick horse up 3 flights of stairs, only to discover that the horse's arched neck would not fit around the turn in the stairway. The collectors were determined to have a Deborah Butterfield horse, so they had to choose another one that would get up the stairs. Julian Zugazogoitia of the Nelson wrote me this about their Deborah Butterfield. Deborah Butterfield's sculptural depictions of horses reminds us of the vulnerability of nature. The elegant forms she creates out of organic materials evoke the essence of these elegant creatures. Butterfield imbues emotional states within her horses that make us consider humanity's effect on the animal kingdom. Now let's talk about John. John Buck's printing partner, Bud Stark, talks about their first project together. He wrote me, "I have seen images of your first 2 woodcuts, my first print, 1980, and Untitled La Grande Eclipse in 1982. And I was very interested in working on this woodblock. I saw it as a copy young printer and said, sure, I can print that, although I had never printed a large woodcut before. I was determined to figure out a way to print it. It took some time to find the right tools, inks, paper, and muscle to make it work. It worked and we printed a piece called Beirut in red and black, handmade Suzuki paper, and in an edition of 30. It was our first print together. Our collaborations continued when we met at University of Colorado, and we worked together for over 36 years and have printed 56 woodcuts and 2 lithographs. David Cataforis, who's the chairman of the art history department at KU, wrote me of John Buck. John Buck combines schematic human figurative images with other motifs, both natural and cultural, to create strange and compelling juxtapositions that suggest narratives without spelling them out. Renato Denise, one of their dealers, wrote me of both of them. They are well-deserved tributes to their work, to their place in recent art history, and a further celebration of the harmony and concord which marked their life together. Please welcome our honorees, Deborah Butterfield and John Buck. For our honorees today. The first is a book that I have made, which looks remarkably like our program, of all the work that is in this area by both artists. Secondly, their honorary degrees, their honorary doctorate of fine arts. In recognition of your boundless imagination and passion, it is a privilege for the Kansas City Art Institute to confer upon both of you the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts. Congratulations. They told us we weren't speaking. I will try to speak, but everyone has spoken so well. It pretty much said the things that I would say. My experience at Davis, I got there in 1970, and everybody I met there had gone to Kansas City. And then when we moved to Montana, everyone teaching there and many of the grad students had gone to Kansas City. And so I've come here over the years, and I'm proud to finally have an official connection with you here at the Art Institute. Thank you.
This is a big class. When I was here, it was a very small class. And it's very impressive, but Kansas City really is the best place for you to be. And I had a great time here, and I've done well because I kept my hands in it. You know, you start out because you like to make things with your hands, and then it goes all different kinds of places. You imagine different things you might do, but your hands are what's doing it. So keep your hands in it and keep working. Thank you.
Every second year, we recognize sustained excellence in teaching and outstanding career achievement by awarding the Excellence in Teaching and the Distinguished Achievement Awards. We also recognize a faculty member pursuing a special project that contributes significantly both to their career development and to the advancement of the college by awarding the Outstanding Special Project Award. This year's Excellence in Teaching Award recipient is Rebecca Dubé, an associate professor in art history. Congratulations. The Distinguished Achievement Award recipient is Dwight Frizzell, a professor in interactive arts. And the Outstanding Special Project Award recipient is Diana Heiss, Associate Professor in Filmmaking. Congratulations. Each year, the students in each major nominate one graduating senior for the Mentorship Award, which honors their outstanding leadership and contributions to the department. As your names are read, please step forward to receive your reward and be recognized. For animation, Parker Calico. Congratulations, Parker. For art history, Victoria Green. For ceramics, Christopher Williams. For creative writing, Paige Edson. For fiber, Lisbeth Contreras. For filmmaking, Andrea DiCarlo. For graphic design, Jenna Schwartz. For illustration, August D. Maria. For interactive art, Zane Smith. For painting, Paige Edson, will you return to the stage? For photography, Brendan Goodman. I think Brendan is finishing a final, so he's not here. I'm just kidding. Printmaking, Eliza Perez. And for sculpture, Alexis Lorenz. Congratulations to all of our mentorship award recipients. We are also pleased to recognize outstanding artwork featured in the 2019 BFA exhibition. These awards were renamed the C. Stephen Metzler Exhibition Awards in honor of our late board chair, Steve Metzler, who cared deeply about students and their development. We wish to honor him today as we recognize these graduating seniors for their outstanding work in the BFA exhibition. This year's award recipients were selected by Mel Ziegler, a KCAI alumnus and professor and chair of the Department of Art at Vanderbilt University, and Ann Austin Pierce, an associate professor of art in the College of Arts and Sciences and the director of the Greenleaf Gallery at Rockhurst University. When I call your name, please stand and be recognized. The Best of Show award goes to Jeff Shanehofen in illustration. The honor award goes to Daisy Montano in photography. Honorable mentions go to Nina Guggen in illustration. Christopher Williams in ceramics. And Michael Bond in sculpture. Congratulations. We have 2 awards to recognize graduates with the highest grade point average, one for a double major and one for a studio major. The graduate with the highest GPA for a double major is Reagan Capsule, with majors in ceramics and art history. The graduate with the highest GPA for a studio major is Hattie Odell in sculpture. Congratulations to these outstanding graduates. I would now like to introduce Professor Julie Farstead, Chair of Painting.
Good morning. Thank you all for the opportunity and the privilege to speak to you about our student, Haley Hackett. I had the honor of having Haley in my junior major studio painting class for the 2017-2018 school year. The image I will hold forever in my mind of Haley is of a young woman sitting barefoot on the floor of her studio surrounded by drawings, patterned fabric, and gold paint. I always enjoyed being with Haley in her studio because she was so curious about the world and had such a broad range of passions and interests. It was always a surprise to see what she was doing from one week to the next because Haley experimented with so many ideas and materials. She created gilded, spray foam sculptures about environmental issues and mixed media paintings with gold leaf and thread that explored human existence. She made intricate, fantastical drawings and sewn pieces that were poignant and direct, and Haley had the best laugh. Haley radiated when she talked about Japanese culture and kimonos. She was pursuing a double major in art history and the Asian Studies certificate, along with her BFA in painting. For a research project in the fall semester, Haley created an excellent PowerPoint presentation on kimonos. In one of the first slides, she showed a grid of unlabeled kimonos, each from a different Asian tradition, and asked the class if any of us could tell to which culture each kimono belonged. When it became clear that none of us had any idea, Haley sighed in a way that expressed her deep disappointment in us, combined with a genuine sense of surprise. Like, I can't believe you don't know this, it's amazing. And she took off expertly describing each kimono, where it came from, how it was made, and also how some of the garments weren't even kimonos, but most people called them kimonos, and that was definitely wrong. She glowed as she demonstrated, using a classmate as her model, how to put on one of the many kimonos in her collection. Her personality effervesced as she explained how different obis were tied, and that the way they were tied had meaning. It was exciting and fun to watch her sharing a subject she truly loved. Haley was a natural teacher. When I received the call about the accident that took Haley's life, I felt a nearly audible shattering. The shocking loss of Haley left a hole in our senior class, and we began our year stunned and devastated. At her memorial, Haley's friends and parents shared stories of how Haley was the caretaker of her group of friends. She was the silly cheer-you-upper, the one who would take the time to make you dinner, who listened to how you were really doing. Haley's parents, Karen and Stuart, generously invited me to choose one of Haley's artworks to display permanently in the painting department. I chose my favorite piece called Human Reality, which is a mixed media abstract painting with an earthy red ground, green, brown, and yellow ochre thread, and gold leaf across the bottom third of the painting. I remember the first time I saw it in her studio, leaning against the wall, and I told Haley it was an amazing breakthrough. All year, we have lived with her painting, passing it daily as we move throughout our routines. In front of the painting, we kept a book in which we wrote memories of and notes to Haley. Beside it, we grew a young, bright green succulent plant that thrived in the warm rays of natural light that shone through the skylight above. I recall the story her father told about how Haley loved succulents and was trying to grow some outside her window, but the squirrels kept stealing them from her pots. As a plant lover, it was really important to me that Haley have her succulent. And I thought of her caring spirit, and her concern for the environment each time I watered it. Now, here we are at graduation. And there's Haley's chair, decorated lovingly by her friends. And to be honest, my heart, like many of yours, still feels broken. There is a Japanese tradition that began in the late 15th century called kintsugi. This is a method of fixing a broken ceramic vessel with a special lacquer dusted with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. By doing this, the fracture is not forgotten or hidden, but simply and elegantly acknowledged as part of that cup's history. It will never be unbroken, but it can be repaired, and through its repair, become more beautiful. I'd like to think that somehow the memories we have of Haley and the artwork she has left for us can be like a golden seam for our broken hearts. In her artist statement, Haley wrote that she wants her work to be a place we can get lost in and contemplate. She wanted us to see how life is a cycle of struggle, and that she hopes her images communicate a freedom, because even with all the twists and turns, push and pull, life goes on one way or another. I am honored to invite Haley's brother, John Hackett, to the stage to accept Haley's diploma.
We will now confer the Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. Will the candidates in the back row please rise and come forward to receive your degree? Alexander Wilson Isgrid. Noah Christopher Jones. Juliana Garcia. Grace Anna Powell. Mary Victoria Proctor. Alyssa Gurecki. Julian Grant Barlow. Carrington Lynn DeVos. Shannon Mariah Dietrich. Daisy Montano. Rebecca Anna Swanson. Susanna Pate. Ellen Margaret Whitecamp. Paige Henson. Miles Young. Austin Joseph Lionberger. Allie Wine. Jeffrey Roger Shanehoven. Susan June Sorson. Felix Small. Benjamin Trevor Johnson. Samantha K. Hahn. Andrea Monet DiCarlo. Vaughn Parrish. M. Harford. Phoebe Lucille Barisco. Catherine Taylor Merrill. Willow Brooke Hardman. Jacob Ranger Powell. Minji Kim. Michelle Chan. Miranda Faye Pratt. Elijah Harris. Lulu Wang. Zachary Brian Martin. Lisa Contreras. Ariana Bonner. Zane Scott Smith. Stephen Vandegrift. Berry. Merrick Ellis Newson. Nina Luttrell. Fanny Rose Burlaw. Josie Lane Eckerman. Hattie Ann Odell. Nicholas David Kern. Rafael Morales Silva. Parker Thomas Calico. Eli Morrison. Sarah Jane Spencer. Oscar Felipe Fonseca Solano. Michael Preston Vaughn. Savannah Sierra Hamilton. CJ Sembler. Sierra Nicole Swift. Annalise Kristen Kenny. Hannah Joy Brown. Rebecca Maria Cook. Rachel Virginia Toma. Allie Jeanette Nahera. Michaela Erin Murphy. Matthew Eric Bush. Sophia Marie Gonzalez. Whitney Ray Stubblefield. Arlen Ingen. Elizabeth Morgan Putman. Gabriela Cabon. Bailey Marie Evers. Alexandra K. Severai. Isabel Grace Brown. Kelsey Elizabeth Mack. D. Renee Listenby. Victoria May Green. Michaela Yvonne Overton. James McKell Ward Jr. Anna Kate Pardue. Jacob John Franson. Christopher Jesus Chavez. Brooke Cerrone. Sydney Elizabeth Sanders. Caitlin Nicole Stovall. Jen Anna Mary Schwartz. Hannah L. Gibbs. August D. Maria. Austin B. Chapman. Hope Leanne Vinson. Michelle Jolie. Chloe Marie Thompson. Megan Wiedemchak. Mackenzie Solmer. Alexandra Rain Davenport. Anna Jimena Benitez. Anastasia Ian Carpenter. Randolph Jesse Heiser. Devin Taylor Wolf. Muriel Elaine Hansen. Anne Marie Yang. Hannah Marie Woodward. JC Womack. Shantasia Gary Kowalski. Kayla Marie Hobbit-Shields. Eliza Perez. Sydney Elizabeth Brown. Mary Caitlin Earl. Rachel Lee Dahl. Lana K. Laughlin. Michael Weimer. Valentina Quindade Soria. Amy Marie Young. Christopher Lee Williams. Caroline Marie Strand. Mackenzie Lynn Parrish. Marina Ray Buchan. Casper McGrath Warren. Crystal Shore. Lucas J. Lacey Lee Wonderschmidt. Claire Ann O'Grady. Megan Nicole Castle. Morgan Nick. Matthew Phillips.
portion of our ceremony. Graduates know what's coming. Ladies and gentlemen, candidates, please rise. Are you ready to be tasseling? Tassels prepare, because an important part of the graduation ritual is the movement of the tassel on the mortarboard hat from the left side of the mortarboard if you can actually do this, it is a sign that you are educated. It is a sign for all to see that you are now a college graduate. So please move the tassel to the, I'm not going to do it, the other side. This is the legal bit. On the advice of my attorney, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the Bachelor of Fine Arts degree with rights, privileges, and responsibilities. Congratulations, you have graduated.